What's up, everybody? Hey, that was enough of that. Enough of that music and stuff, man. Hey, I just want to come on here right quick. I promise I won't keep you long. I don't think I will anyway. I want to come on and ask you guys a few questions. First off, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in tonight. You could be doing anything in the world. It's 9:45 Central Standard Time on a Monday. And you could be watching basketball because unfortunately, the series doesn't start till Thursday. Man, I just realized it doesn't start till Thursday earlier today, man. That's kind of a long time to go without basketball. But I don't know what sports is on right now, but I appreciate you guys jumping on with me right now tonight. I want to hold you just for a little bit, man, because we probably have our guest that we have coming up tomorrow is probably the biggest guest for HBCU Coaches Corner we've ever had. Considering, this man comes in our living rooms each and every week in the fall and deliver us tremendous HBCU commentary. Not only that, he's actually a HBCU football legend from the University of Howard. And then who I'm speaking of, none other than Jay Scott Walker. He will be on HBCU Coaches Corner tomorrow, and I am so excited. If you can't tell, I'm so excited for this interview that we're going to have tomorrow. Me, Coach Cole, and Mr. Campbell, we're all going to sit down and have a conversation with him to highlight the fact that he is being inducted into the the Black College Hall of Fame this year. He'll be inducted this upcoming Saturday in Atlanta. If you are in the area, I suggest you guys, if you have time, please go by. It will be a great evening of just spending time with legends, anywhere from guys like Doug Williams. Man, it's just so many guys from all over the HBCU diaspora that'll be there. And there are so many guys that are legends that have been inducted into the HBCU Hall of Fame. So I definitely wish I could be there. However, I won't be able to be in attendance. But Coach Cole will be representing HBCU Coaches Corner this Saturday at the induction ceremony. So that's good. I'm very excited about that. And so with no further ado, I want to ask you guys, do you guys have any questions? If you happen to be watching this on the recording, I'll be monitoring the comments. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask Jay Walker about during tomorrow's interview, make sure you put your questions in the comments or put them in the chat here. What up, my man Goat? That's my boy John James. Appreciate you dropping in, my man Goat. D Goat stepping in. Let me see. We already got a few questions already posted. Let me look at a couple of them. Y'all tell me what y'all think about these questions coming up. We got to ask him who has the best stands and on the field work. Okay. You talking about who has the best in the stands and on the field work. I didn't even know there was a difference. Keisha, you're our local band expert in the house. Is there a difference between playing in the stands and playing on the field? All right. So there is a difference. See, learn something new every day. I thought just a band was a band. I didn't know there was any different. Let me look at my next question. My next question says, ask Jay, why does he hate Jackson State so much? That's interesting. Assuming that he hates Jackson State. Let me ask you this, Calvin. What evidence do you have that Jay Walker hates Jackson State? Give me that for a moment. Because I wanna know that. I want to understand that. Matter of fact, if you got evidence, I'll even open up the call lines if that's what you want to. If you're gonna call in and state your case. I'll even open up the call lines. Let me know if you're gonna call in, Calvin, and tell me why you think Jay Walker hates Jackson State. Let me know. I'll open up the call lines just for that. If you really want to air your grievances out, let me see, my man. I ain't at work. Oh, okay. Oh, so you what does that mean? LOL, I ain't at work. You only can call from work. Let me know. I mean, maybe somebody else has that same observation that Jay Walker hates JSU. I mean, and maybe y'all can explain that. Maybe y'all can provide some evidence. Oh, okay. You can't call in because you're at work. All right. But where have you heard this? I think he was very complimentary of Jackson State during the Dion years because I watched a lot of those games, and I think he was very complimentary of TC Taylor and what they did. Come on, man, y'all break it down and tell me, why do you think Jay Walker hates Jackson State, man? Jackson State is, from what I understand, Jackson State is a HBCU blue blood. You know, in the realm of, HBCUs, they're the Notre Dame. They're the Ohio State. They're the University of Texas. They're the Oklahoma. They're the Alabama of HBCUs. Right? That's what they tell me. Now, maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe I have it all wrong. Maybe they're not all that. Maybe they are, maybe they don't have the rich history of those institutions that I just mentioned, but that's what I understand. I understand that Jackson State is the creme de la creme. Hey guys, I just want to give y'all the heads up what I'm talking about. If you just tuned in to us, Calvin says, let me just put this comment up here at Calvin. Calvin says Jay Walker hates Jackson State. He believes Jay Walker hates Jackson State. Is that true? Is that something that, because I hadn't got that. Matter of fact, I tell you what, if anybody can call in and provide some evidence or get me to understand why I should ask him that question. Because I don't want to ask the man the question and it seems like I'm taking him somewhere that is, that sounds like a pretty provocative question to ask a guest. Hey, man, why do you hate Jackson State? Without any proof or evidence that he actually does hate Jackson State. I don't want to. Okay, let me see what my man says here. He says, my man says, but it's more of a SWAC hate too. See, okay, all right. I understand why he may prefer the MEAC. He's a MEAC guy. He's from Howard. You right? He won the national championship, out of the MEAC. He played in the MEAC. So I understand why he may prefer the MEAC, just why many of you guys absolutely may prefer the SWAC. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he hates the SWAC. Let me know. Because that's interesting. I don't want to ask Jay. Let me ask my man Perry. My man Perry say, ask Jay Walker, can Perry White be ENT sideline reporter this year? Hey, you know what, Perry? Hey, call in and ask yourself, man. Call in and ask yourself. Hey, if they looking for somebody, I think you're the man for it, man. Hey, you do a tremendous job on Saturday morning on the Jaguar Journal. You and Scotty do a tremendous job on your podcast on Mondays, and then I started listening to you on Facebook, man. You used to do a tremendous job on Facebook, so I'm a big fan of yours, and I think you would be an excellent sideline reporter. Hey, let me ask you this, Perry. You think they should let you hear? You would be even more entertaining if they let you take a little sip on the sideline as you're doing your analysis. That would be tremendous. That would be epic. That would be pay-per-view. If they let you give your honest commentary. because we had a blast, man, at Southern. We were able to sip and talk some HBCU sports together, man. That's been the highlight of my media career, if you ask me, man. To be at Southern live at homecoming, talking HBCU football, and we had an absolute blast. If you guys hadn't got a chance to see that, go back a few months and just look at the pregame show that we did live on Southern campus in the belly of the beast, right in the midst of tailgate. It was epic. It was absolutely epic. Let me see. Let me see what my man Calvin is saying again. Y'all doing it again at other HBCUs homecoming. Man, we got some big things planned, man. I'll just put it like that, man. We're trying to do some tremendous things in the HBCU sports media space, man. And we're gonna do all we can to make things like that happen, man. Like I say, it was a tremendous opportunity for me to be at Southern homecoming, get a chance to meet a lot of people and experience, which at the time was my first HBCU homecoming. And I don't think I could have picked a better place than Southern University. Now, a couple weeks later, I would go to Prairie View, and Prairie View had an awesome homecoming as well. So, and I don't even want to compare the two because they were such different experiences, but it was absolutely phenomenal to be at Southern during homecoming. Let me see what this is. It says, all right, this is maybe a good question I can ask him. What does the future of HBCU football look like in the new era? As for era of the transfer portal, NIL. All right, I'm definitely let me get that one right there. I'm gonna get that question. That's a great question, Derek. Thank you for that. I'm definitely gonna get that question. Yeah, because I'm anxious to hear what he says about that. We all speculate what it might be like, what it might look like. But he's somebody who talks to coaches and players every week. Working with ESPN, I love to hear his insight on what he thinks the future of HBCU football is going to look like in the NIL and transfer portal era. That's a great question, Derek. Great question. Okay, so no one has any evidence that. All right, here you go. Serious question for him. What can the MEAC do to grow the conference? Okay, so let's get specific, Calvin. What do you mean by add more teams or increase the fan base? What are you actually talking about? Are you talking about growing the fan base or just adding more MEAC teams? Or you could be talking about both. Both. Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna make sure I get that question asked. Make sure I get that question asked. That's a great question. Go. Now let me ask you guys this about the MEAC, growing the MEAC. Would you guys prefer the MEAC to grow their conference, or would you guys prefer to have an HBCU super conference? What do you guys think about that? I'm going to ask, would you prefer, maybe I could ask Jay that question, would you prefer a super HBCU conference or have the MEAC grow their conference? Oh, that's okay. We got one vote for a super conference. Matter of fact, why not, man? I don't know what Zoe doing, but I don't have nothing but time. And so if you want to jump on, Zoe, you're welcome to explain that. I'm surprised that you say super conference. Because now let me ask you this here, Zoe. Would that super conference require some of the smaller schools in the SWAC or the MEAC to drop down a level? Okay. All right. Go ahead. Come on in. Come on up, Mr. Campbell. Come on up. Come on up. But no, I'm saying, no, Adrian Cook says, nah, just the way it is. So you like it just the way it is with the MEAC having 6 teams and the SWAC having 12? You like it like that? Let me see. And what my man here says, he says, we gotta add Tennessee State, Hampton, North Carolina State, North Carolina A&T back. I would have went to A&T had they been in the MEAC. Yeah. I mean, that's a great, but here's the deal about any type of any situation. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have context and history behind that I don't have, right? There's a reason why Tennessee State is not in a black conference. There's a reason why Hampton is not in the black conference. There's a reason why North Carolina A&T is not in the black conference. My question, you guys who are HBCU aficionados, have a lot of history, have the reason why they left, has that been remedied? Has it been fixed? Has those relationships been repaired? Are the reasons they left no longer an issue in college football anymore? You know, you guys have to answer that question, because you remember they left for a reason, and if they come back, you know, are the reasons why they left no longer valid? Let me see. Let me ask you. Ask Jay. Let me see. L. Dot said, ask Jay why he hates Jackson State. God damn it. This is the second guy that says that, ask him why he hates Jackson State. Can somebody call in and explain to me why y'all believe Jay Walker hates Jackson State? I got the number right under here scrolling. If somebody can call in and explain, or maybe Zoe knows why people believe Jackson State, Jay Walker hates Jackson State. Because I don't want to ask a man a baseless question. If I ask him a question, I want him to ask him a valid question, right? Has he done something? Has he said something? You know, has he, you know? Oh my goodness, we got my brother. What's up, Zoe, man? I'm glad to have you on. And maybe, I don't know if you heard my question, but my question was, we've had several guys on here allege that Jay Walker hates Jackson State. First off, I want to say good evening for joining us. I want to thank you. But can you go into that and kind of explain what that is all about?
Yeah, to the masses at JSU, Jay Walker hates Jackson State. That's the consensus. That's the thought. Now, I'm quite sure if you ask, he won't admit to that.
What is the evidence, though? Can you give some evidence?
Yes, in every game he called with Jackson State. Go back and watch the tape. It's in every game that's called. Now, if you ask him, he'll say no. He'll say, I called it down the middle, but nah. It's too many things that's been kind of blatant and obvious. And Jay is the analyst. And Tiffany calls. I tell you what, Tiffany and Jay are our team. No one ever says Tiffany Green hates Jackson State, and they're on every program together. You ever notice that? Because Tiffany does the color commentary.
Well, I can say now I did come across some interesting data while researching Jay Walker, right? Now, though I mentioned that he won the national championship while at Howard, right? Is it true that year in 1993, they had to share that championship with Jackson State?
No.
Okay.
No, we won the championship in '96 and won the Black College Nationals and won the Black College National Championship in '96.
Okay. So for whatever reason, it says they didn't play in the Heritage Bowl for some reason or another, and Jackson State played somebody else. So did the Heritage Bowl not decide the national championship then, or?
I mean, some year the Heritage Bowl was in place of the Celebration Bowl, but it wasn't the de facto national championship like the Celebration Bowl was, because you got to remember the Heritage Bowl, when they played it, the SWAC champion wasn't always in the Heritage Bowl.
Okay. See, I don't know these things. I'm just looking at records and bowl appearances and things like that when I'm looking up his history, and it says they opted out of. I want to say the footnote was they opted out of the Heritage Bowl and they went to play Marshall in the playoffs.
We did in that, but I don't even think that was 93. That was
No, I'm saying they did. Howard did. I don't know.
I don't recall Howard playing Marshall, but Jackson State played Marshall.
They definitely played. They definitely played Marshall 1 year, and I want to say they played William and Mary 1 year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that was Jackson State. We played William and Mary, and we played Marshall.
Okay, well, that was the same year then. That was the same year. You can go look it up.
That was 96. No. We played. I'm sorry. We played Western Illinois. But we played William and Mary 1 year too, because we played Darren Sharper was at William and Mary when we played them.
Okay. But like I said, I'm just doing the internet research, and what I came across is they opted out of the Heritage Bowl, and I thought you guys played in the Heritage, beat somebody in the Heritage Bowl, so that year. So
No.
that would have been 93. No, so what I'm trying to figure out, where would this bias or animus come from?
Oh man, look, your guess is good as mine. But the when and why, I couldn't tell you. But again, if you watch any of the broadcasts, Tiffany and Jay is a tandem. They're a team. No one ever says Tiffany Green doesn't like Jackson State.
So this is I don't think this is true.
Calvin got it. I knew that's what it was. So that's what it was.
So you mean y'all
the playoffs? So
you mean to tell me y'all Southern won a national championship before Pete Richardson took over?
No, Pete Richardson took over that was his first or second year. Southern won with Pete Richardson, the head coach.
I thought that was in 94, 95. My bad.
They won in every championship they won in 90 was with Pete Richardson.
Okay. Let me just do the Google. So you're saying you don't have any hard concrete evidence. It's your belief.
No, it's not my belief. It's not a belief. Look, everybody, look. It's not people from Jackson State just pulling something, out of thin air. Like I said, just go back and watch the broadcast. There are some obvious, biasness. There are some little dingers. There are some little things that's being hinted towards Jackson State, whatever you call a game. Because again, no one from Jackson State has any problem with Tiffany Green whatsoever. And Tiffany Green with the FAMU. And also, and even though Tiffany Green with the FAMU, she lets you know she with the FAMU, but she calls it down the middle. Jewel doesn't.
So, well, again, man, I guess so. And you said it is a wide known belief among Jackson State fan base that Jay Walker hates. So if I pose the question to him like this, our Jackson State fan base seems to think that you have some type of bias toward them. Have you heard that before? And maybe he'll expound on that. Because I don't want to make an accusation that the man is biased toward Jackson State. I don't want to make an accusation that I'm the reason why that I believe, because I don't have, again, I literally watched him broadcast not hundreds, but probably 20 Jackson State games over the past 5 years. Wouldn't you say that? He's done at least about 20 Jackson State games over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, Campbell.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this: you very close to the Jackson State fan base. Do you detect some bias that Jay Walker has toward?
Hey, Rocky, listen. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna put a link in the chat because I'm testing this camera to see if I want to use this tomorrow. So
Okay.
I don't know, but I'm gonna drop a link, okay, from my tweet. And I want you to post this tweet, okay? I'm gonna pull it up, and then you see what I think about this. Hold on one second. So I'm gonna. What you want me to do? Text it to you or drop it in the chat?
Either one. Either one.
All right. I'm gonna. I'll text it to you.
Text it to me.
Yeah, because that's gonna answer this question. Because trust me, I have got more phone calls about this show from Jackson State and FAMU people. Now pull this. I just sent that to you. Pull that tweet up.
Okay. All right. Let me share my screen right quick.
Now, Calvin, not today. I'm trying to test it out and see if I'm trying to use this tablet camera versus my laptop because people say it's kind of blurry.
Let me see. Maybe that's it right there. Let me.
Now, what does that say?
Oh, okay. Let me see. All right, here we go. It says, big one next Tuesday on HBCU Coaches Corner. Your favorite HBCU and host Johnnie Cole to talk to Jewel Jacoby Walker. You gonna use you using his government name?
Government name.
You heard what I said earlier, right?
HBCU Sports. We ask everything. Okay, and why does he hate JSU and
Thank you. Now that was on a tweet that I did last Monday before this question even asked. So yes, Rocky, he does. Listen, I'm gonna say depending on what day it is Jackson State won FAMU 2 or FAMU won Jackson State 2? But bottom line, point blank, period. Now I don't know what it is. Because I know he came down to Jackson, and he what's the cigar shop, Zoe, down there by that club?
Downtown cigar shop.
They treat him nice down there. They bought the boy cigar, treat him. He came to Tallahassee, but and the boy still don't show no respect. So I got folks want me to talk to Jewel tomorrow and get an answer to this. Because they
well, guess what? I won't have to run point on this one. I can sit this one out.
Listen, don't know what I'm talking about because listen. It don't make a difference if it's a list about homecoming, fried chicken, bands, cars, uniforms. It's always going to be FAMU Jackson State last, Howard won, and some random school that nobody even watch.
So didn't he give y'all tailgate one time? Didn't he give Jackson State either? Because he said something about the Mississippi catfish. I remember him talking about the catfish. Didn't he give y'all something?
Well, listen, here's the thing. Even if, and Zoe knows this, you do a list of 5, right? But if you put me 4 and 5, and we know we 1 and 2, that's a disrespect right there itself. Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? So
hey, y'all getting bonus coverage of my family in the background. So once y'all get him a round of applause since they decided.
The question is going to be asked. The question is going to be asked.
Okay. Oh, I'll step aside. Because like I say, the way that Calvin wanted me to ask the question was, hey, Jay, why do you hate Jackson State so much? Like that was, to me, I could see how Jay could see that as a baseless question.
I would say as what brought on his disdain for JSU.
No, and listen, and Rocky, the thing about it, he know that's not a question that is just out of left field. He knows it. He knows
it. Is it just, let me ask you this. Is this just HBCU rivalry that maybe y'all are mistaken for just hate?
No, there's no rivalry with Jackson State and Howard whatsoever.
Look at M. Frost say you can't ask it like that. Now see
what you mean?
So M. Frost said you can't ask it like that. Who are you talking about, Frost? Who can't ask it like that? Rocky can't ask like that, or I can't.
I think me. I say Could you explain when your disdain for JSU?
Well, like I say, I'm not now we got this guy named L. Dot. Maybe he got something to say. I might as well he's been waiting. L. Dot, you're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. Do you have something you want to share with us?
Yes, I do, and thank you for bringing me on. My problem with Jay Walker is if you go back to the YouTube, to the ESPN highlights of the Jackson State and FAMU game, the year that we won, I think it was 50-something to 3. Go back to the end of that clip, and the first thing Jay Walker says was, "Y'all still don't have a Celebration Bowl." So Jay Walker always says little slick stuff about Jackson State, and it's like, dude, we don't even know you really. So why do you say these off the cuff things? And every time he posts something on like Jay's Give Me 5, if Jack State in it, Jack State cannot be number one, no matter what. So that's that's my problem with Jay Walker. All you got to do is be unbiased, like Tiffany, and like Zoe said, you've never heard anybody say we don't like Tiffany Green. It's always, why is Jay Walker hating though? Right? So I don't know what it is.
Now, L. Now hold on now. You know why? Because she come from the higher seven. That's a level of professionalism that we can put our bias to the side. Even when she called the Jackson State FAMU game, you don't even hear the bias. Now come on, now,
Exactly.
be honest. And she's
Exactly.
not hard rally.
Exactly. Exactly. You do not hear that bias from Tiffany Green. It's only from Jay Walker, and he done it several times. He always throwing the shot, and I'm like, who are you? Right? Who are you?
You know what? To Eldot's point, Jackson State just won a Celebration Bowl. Jackson State was last season's HBCU national champion. Jay and Tiffany are going to call plenty of games this season. I can assure you, Jackson State would not get the reverence as if they just won the HBCU national championship.
Never.
Before in time when he called the game during the season.
You know something that was kind of funny, like, and I wasn't going to point this out because maybe I thought he's not active on Twitter, but he had made a tweet since the December of 2024. You know,
And he won't make one.
And but I thought maybe he's just not that active on Twitter. You know, he was at one point, but you know, but again, maybe that's just coincidence. That could be just coincidental. You know?
Hey, Rocky, let me say this though. This is a monumental time because in less than a month, Jackson State and FAMU folks have gotten together to get on the dude's ass from the tweet, and also, hey man, this is beautiful. This is progress, man. This is progress. So in less than a month, there's been 2 instances that FAMU and Jackson State folks can agree, man. I'm loving it, bro. I'm loving it.
You think y'all got some kinship?
Hey, listen. I'm gonna tell you something. The JSU folk, man. Well, listen, I looked at the tweet when that dude made that bad tweet about our AD. Even the Jackson State folk, like, hold up, bro, y'all done gone too far on that.
Hey, now we got Jackson State and FAMU people here, right? But maybe I can get a Southern Knight or somebody from the MEAC that maybe sees it in a different way. Because y'all biased. Y'all got y'all loyalty. And y'all, again, Joe, you can't be objective. I'm not saying that,
let me give you a point though. Nobody's wrong in none of this, because let me give you a real good point. Back in the glory days of BET, Charlie Neal, great all-time HBCU analyst, his partner was Lim Barney. Lim Barney was obviously biased as an analyst. He was cheering for Jackson State when they were calling games. He let it be known, right? He was cheering for Jackson State. But here's the thing. Lim Barney didn't hate on any other institution, even though he was openly cheering and rooting for Jackson State when they were playing games. But notice, I want you to notice the pattern. I forgot my guy that called the BET games in the 90s, right? Georgia, I forget his name. Him, Charlie Neal, all these sportscasters. Nobody ever said, oh, they had it out for a particular school, or they gave some shade to a particular school. You've only gotten that with Jay Walker. Facts. So it's not I'm a Jacksonian, I'm biased, because here's the thing. Notice how everybody is saying the same thing.
Well, let me ask Mr. Campbell this. Go ahead.
One thing that made me think about, so I talked to somebody, a Central grad. So he was like, hey, y'all gonna let people call in? Because I want to call in and wonder why Jay Walker's around here instigating fights between Howard and Central. Come on, man. What are we doing?
You know, okay, you guys know I don't have an HBC loyalty other than Prairie View and my daughter. So that's a recent relationship since 2021. So I don't have any historical connection to anybody. I really enjoy the way, and me and you have talked about it, Mr. Campbell, how I enjoy the way Jay Walker commentates HBCU games, and he throws the culture in there, and he kind of educates guys like me who are not as familiar with the culture while he's doing the game, right? It's also a cultural experience while he's commentating. I appreciate that. But I've heard, what some people think about his commentary. Oh, I don't share that because I like it. I like it a lot. I think he's, I'd rather listen to him to a lot of the other guys on ESPN do an HBCU game. But, overall, I think he adds a level of color and flavor to an HBCU broadcast that I don't think many people could do, at least many people on the ESPN analyst roster anyway.
Well, listen, I'm going to agree with you. Listen, Jay Walker is an outstanding analyst. He knows the game. He knows the teams. He knows the history. So I think, again, being lighthearted, I don't think anybody saying that he's not, like when you listen to oh, you got to cut the radio off. Because I'll be honest with you, and Zoe might disagree with me, but when they had RG3 calling the Celebration Bowls, and it was just and then he was talking about the Q stepping in, and Jay looked at him like, bro, get your corny ass up out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's where I draw the line at. When you got somebody, and like I said, I hate to pile on RG3, but it was true. He called the Celebration Bowl during prime, and it was horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was horrible. And Jay, it was get rid of these guys and let the professional. They had Tiffany on the sideline, you know what I'm saying? And RG3, Jay, get rid of them and let the folks know what they're doing, do it, So now I think that far as that, but I think with Jay, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and like I said, and not in effect, but I think that he understands the greatness of coach, and he knows how to egg people on. He knows what he's doing. First of all, let's be clear. It is not like he's making that up. He knows what he's doing because he's the culture.
Well, I share, and my man here brings up something very interesting. I do watch a lot of P4 football, so I do this. And I absolutely despise Kirk Herbstreit as an analyst, right? I can't stand him a bit. But America loves him, obviously loves him. And maybe that's a situation where you guys may not think very much of Jay Walker. Because I think Herbie is biased in most cases, especially when it comes to blue blood programs. If you're not a blue blood program, Herbie throws little shots at those institutions as if they don't deserve to be on those stages sometimes with the Ohio States and the Oregons and the Notre Dames and stuff like that.
But the difference between Kirk Herbstreit and Jay Walker is, look at the example that you use, using a blue blood and then maybe like a school from the MEAC. That's a broader scope. When you talk about HBCU ball, it's a whole lot more intimate because we're essentially, for the most part, talking between two conferences. We're literally talking about 18 teams. You see what I'm saying? So they're in itself, and also both of that team, they themselves went to HBCUs as well, and we all know where they went. Tiffany Green, FAMU, Jay went to Howard. And again, not knocking him for showing love to the school. I think we all would. Tiffany Green, let it be known that she went to FAMU. She bigs him up, but she shows decorum and professionalism in a way. I'm not saying that Jay Walker needs to be like Tiffany, but what I'm saying is all the shade and all the extra fluff and the obvious hate we could do without. His passion is just for the game needs to be shined more. You know what I'm saying? You can have his love for Howard. I mean, they're irrelevant, so it kind of don't matter. You know what I'm saying? But even if they're relevant, you can, like I said, Lil Boy.
They just played for. Come on now, so they just played in the big game.
Really when?
They played against the Rattlers.
What year was that?
2023.
What year is it?
But you know, though, but I'm gonna tell you something, and somebody needs to pull this up. And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is what set people off. And I think somebody needs to find this for me. I think it's when he did that homecoming list. And I don't think he had y'all on it. And had us like fifth and had somebody like, bruh, that one was crazy. So I'm okay. Listen, I've been to all homecomings. Listen, Howard has a different version of homecoming, right? So I'm gonna put them to the side. But when he started naming them other teams and then left Jack State off, I'm like, bro, and then had like FAMU fifth or fourth, and somebody need to pull that list because that's the one I think when everybody got set off. I remember that game.
Well,
I remember that game.
I remember it, and I think he did leave Jackson State off, but he put either A&T or Norfolk, or he put both Norfolk and A&T because he did have 3 prominent SWAC schools. He had, I want to say, Southern in there. He may have even had FAMU in there. And he had somebody else. Who am I missing?
Let me say this about homecoming. Like, okay, first off, I'm disclaimer. Everybody at every school is going to say their homecoming is the best. All right, let's just say that. Now, how a homecoming is well known, we know this, we get it. But there are other schools who actually stand out. And I'm saying this, and this is not me being a JSU alum, but just fact of the matter. Man, it's the largest HBCU homecoming out of all the HBCUs. Like, it's not even up for debate. You know, even that year for that game, that was for that particular game you're talking about, it was Prime's last year there. We had 55,000 in attendance for that game. Like, our homecoming is like, it's ridiculous. And then to not be in the top 5, that right there, to me, you lose credibility. Because that right there is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's what set the Jack State folks off. I think that was that one. And I think for us, it was that and putting us again behind people. And like I said, again, to Zopo, everybody has a great this, a great that. But it was just like, you could tell he was just like, oh, let me just, because Tiffany's sitting right there. And Tiffany looking at him like, bro, stop.
So look, even in the comment, I don't know who Morris Levy, it's like, no way is JSU homecoming the largest. Name me what HBCU has a larger homecoming than Jack State. I got time. Go ahead and put in the comment. Who has a larger homecoming?
I bet you Maurice probably is. I bet you money Maurice is an in-cap person. I bet you money.
G-Ho, listen, man, your stadium holds what? 23,000? Something like that, 24,000? Like, we double what you got inside the stadium just off the rip. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's the largest homecoming. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say Jack State homecoming is the best over everybody. Because, again, everybody's going to feel like their homecoming is the best. I've been to Tennessee State homecoming. Tennessee State homecoming is nice. I haven't been to FAMU's, but I've been to Southern. Southern homecoming is nice. But I haven't been to all of them, so I'm not at liberty to say who's better, who's not. I know Tennessee State got a nice-ass homecoming. Been there, done it. But what I'm saying is, ain't no way in hell you're going to have a top 5 in homecomings and Jack State ain't in it. The moment you do that, you lost credibility. That's just fact.
I mean, you can take that one to the bank. Something to note, teams are from the MEAC. 3.
Bro.
Yes. We're a homecoming conference. The SWAC tailgate's a little bit better than the MEAC, a lot better, but we do homecoming better. And how big is Howard homecoming? His and hers. Can't ask him.
All right, did y'all just see that?
No, hey, but bring that back and just freeze the list.
Oh, well, okay. So this is from 2016. So
hold on. I gotta add this. I'm gonna use his own words. He's like, how was homecoming the best? They had his and hers. Jackson had Good Morning America. So it's just, again, and this is not to throw shade on Howard's homecoming. They, you know what I'm saying? Their reputation preceded them, but let's keep it a buck, man. Like, Howard homecoming is just more name and fluff. And yeah, if you went there, yeah, you're gonna have more pride because you went there. But bro, we're talking about the largest HBCU homecoming, and it ain't even close.
And let me see. Let me do it again.
Yeah, you said that was from 2016.
SKE, the GEE, Tuskegee, they get behind that shed, they get to rocking stuff. Number 3, Southern University. Oh, they do it right down there. Some nice homecoming there. Number 2 is North Carolina A&T. Number 1, come on now. It's the Mecca. We may not win the games on the field all the time, but one thing we're going to do, we're going to out.
Okay. This is Jackson. So I'm gonna pause right there because he says on the bubble, Jackson State, Prairie View A&M, and Morehouse. See, he showed y'all some love, man.
Hey, Rocky. Now you said this was 2016, right?
Yes.
Jackson State been on the bubble for the last 10 years in this list. they ain't even moved up one time in 10 years. Come on, man. Listen, man. I have been to probably every SWAC homecoming other than Valley. Never been to Valley. I've been to everybody else. I've been to every MEAC homecoming except for I haven't been to Norfolk, and I haven't been to Delaware State and Coppin when they play football. But everybody else I've been to. And I'm just telling you, when and listen, Tuskegee, listen, I've been to Tuskegee. Now, that thing's crazy. That thing, the way they do it, because everybody, literally, there is no tickets. Everybody just in there, tailgating and all that stuff. Amazing. Morehouse and Spelman, that's crazy too. But see, the thing about Morehouse and Spelman, what their problem is, that thing is so corporate, and they got all these lavish you just can't get down. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you don't know the right people, you don't have a band, you can't kick it. If you come to FAMU, you come to Southern, you come to Jackson State, you come to Tennessee State, you ain't even got to know a cat. A cat be like, well, you want something to drink? See, that's to me is the greatness of a homecoming. When you can roll into a city and you don't know nobody, your team playing them, and you just walking around and dude be like, man, what y'all do, man? What y'all want to drink? And it's 30, 40,000 people, 50,000 people, 60,000 people. And on the inside, because I think Perry was talking about, they had 100,000 people all around there. I don't know if that number's true, but I understand the magnitude of that many people. You know what I mean? And things like that. So my point of it is when you start putting up these lists, you got to come on, man. Come on.
So you guys are basically believe that, because I just looked at another clip, and I'm not going to post it because it's only going to fuel the fire anymore. But I mean, it was just another segment of him saying, starting off on the bubble, Jackson State.
Look, and Shonda must be a Howard grad. She said, why are we debating homecoming 2016 when he doesn't list? Yeah, but Sean, because he doesn't update the list every year. That's the point. He keeps the list pretty much the same. And I appreciate you watching. So again, I'm not saying they're taking no shot at you, but I'm just making the point. So I want to be very clear. No shot at you. Thank you for watching and whatever. But no, he keeps the list the same. That's what we all know.
Yeah, because you said they've been on the bubble for.
Bro, listen, man, listen. And I'm telling you, he did it just like, I'm telling you, so somebody pulled up just last year. I'm pretty confident of what I'm saying. Because this is how the whole thing even started about people even talking about this now. Ain't nobody going back and does okay. You think somebody talking about 2016 list, or they talking about the list from last year?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Zoe, as a Jackson State fan, it's not anything that he did just last year that makes him think he hates y'all, right? This is something that's happened over a period of time, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but my point of it is no, it's not like it's 2016 and everything's been all good. It's to that point, it's been a consistency of that.
It's going on before 2016. Well, before.
Well, that's it. It's interesting to me that I looked at it. I just looked at it, and he said right away, on the bubble, you know. And this particular game right here, oh man, hey, I'm gonna play this one right here. This one is from 2015, and I want y'all to see what y'all think about this one. Hold on, let me bring it up again. And oh man, I haven't heard this one. I hadn't seen this, but I can't see the list, so I want to bring it up right quick because y'all might find it interesting. Y'all just might find it interesting. Y'all might find this one even more interesting than the ones y'all saw before. Hold on, here we go. And I'll just play this one.
Well, Jay, why don't you give me 5 and tell me who are the top teams in HBCU football right now?
Oh, this is not homecoming. My bad.
With Alcorn State, South Carolina State, we saw them.
Oh,
Oh, that's
listen,
why
and
Jackson
was
State wasn't on that list.
2015. Yeah, these
Yeah.
was a dark day for both JSU and FAMU. Those were dark days back then.
My
boy.
bad. I thought it was a homecoming list,
And
guys.
now listen, that 5 is probably accurate right there. If it's 2015.
Now let me ask. Okay, let me ask you this: when it comes to the football analysis, right? You guys have established that there may be some bias as it relates to the culture. So when he's talking about football on the field, when he's talking about X's and O's, when he's talking about giving coaches their kudos and players their acknowledgments of their achievements, is he biased in that?
Well, he doesn't. Jay doesn't really do X and O's. If you really watch him, he doesn't really do X and O's. But when you're talking from a historical standpoint, when you're talking about players and coaches, all he does is just do. But when he's talking about the game in and of itself, because what Jay tend to do is ramble off and then talk about other things during the game. That's when he gets in trouble. Because then he'll make a song and then he'll shade, got some slick stuff to say about Jackson State or have some slick to say about another school. You know what I'm saying? And it's always, and I'm serious when I say this. Every time there's some shade being thrown, it's always to a SWAC school.
Well, I remember one game. I don't remember the game. You guys may remember where he acknowledged how good Irv Mulligan was. How Irv Mulligan put his imprint on the game.
What did I just say? I said, oh yeah, he'll acknowledge a player or a coach, but when it comes to an institution, because he'll get the rambling and then he'll throw shade to the school, not a player, not a coach. He'll give kudos then, or historical players. Oh, he'll give kudos then, and it's everything the way it needs to be. But trust me, he'll slide some shade in there. It'll be some, or he'll throw a zinger in there. It'll always be to a SWAC school. He'll never throw shade to a MEAC school. Never. Always to a SWAC school. I.e., preferably for the most part, Jack State. Those FAMU in there. But it's going to always be some shade and a zinger. And like I said, the main thing is, it's right there on video. It's on wax. All you got to do is go back and watch it. It's right there for you to watch and listen to it. You got years of it.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Campbell. Was there anything negative that he said about when FAMU made the move to the SWAC that you can recall?
See, okay, so remember when we made the move to the SWAC, and this goes back, which would have been the first game of us playing the 7-6 game down in Orange Blossom Classic. I don't think he said it. I think he was talking more of the party line to Commissioner McClellan. Hey, FAMU SWAC is glad to have FAMU. It's Christmas in July, whatever, blah, 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 and everything like that. I don't think he really, said anything because, again, I think people understood why we made the move. You know what I mean? It was just a fact. It was a better fit. So I don't think he had too much of an issue with that. And especially when the way the game played out, you're talking about prime, we coming back from COVID, you know what I'm saying? It was just a big thing. So that was a really great game for the SWAC and for FAMU Jack State.
You know what? I go back to TC's first game, MEAC SWAC Challenge. I remember we played on South Carolina State. And literally, as the game get ready to end, he said, oh, man, Jack State really looked good today. But you know who doesn't care about that? North Carolina Central. But then as we proceed to go on and win the Celebration Bowl this year, he won't make no strong comments like that when it's to a MEAC school. It's always to a SWAC. Always.
Now this is interesting. When he did the HBCU power rankings, he threw Howard in there, NCCU, Alabama State, and Morgan, and left JSU out of it completely. That was interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Someone asked a question, wanted to ask a question along these lines. And Zoe, I think this is about when you started listening and was talking about, I really wanted to know, they were saying they wanted Tennessee State, A&T, and Hampton to return to the MEAC, and that would kind of fortify that's a better option than a super conference, right? My question to you, I don't know why those guys left, but it has the reason that those guys left, has those situations been remedied to where if they come back, that's no longer a challenge for the MEAC anymore? That's been remedied, or will their issue still be a issue if they return to the MEAC?
I can't speak to that, but Tennessee State didn't leave for that reason. Let me start there first and foremost. That's not why Tennessee State left to be in the conference that they're in, because they were independent for a long time before they got into the Ohio Valley. There wasn't a reason why they got in. Now, with regards to Hampton and A&T, I can't speak to the reasons why they left. That's not my piece to speak on. But I, for one, I disagree with those three teams going to the MEAC, and then going up from 6 teams to 9, 10, or possibly 10 teams. I don't foresee that in this new landscape of college football. I, for one, think there should be a super conference, because I think with the landscape and the way that everything is going, there needs to be one conference, because now you can have both. You can have both the best of both worlds in regards to scheduler format. Everybody can get what they want. You get all the true traditional blue blood games every single year, but then now you can actually be on maybe not equal footing, but on better footing to suit yourself and become a conference that could rival the Sun Belt, but it'd be an HBCU conference. Also fortify and strengthen your conference to where now you're a power conference, and now you can put yourself in position to get more resources, and now you're on better footing to where you can compete against the Sun Belt, and also, who knows, vie for a national championship or the actual real national championship on the FBS level. And so again, with the way of the new college football landscape, there's no reason why you shouldn't even think about having an HBCU super conference. Because now when we talk about players going to the NFL and all this whole thing that people have in their mind about HBCUs are lesser than, and that, you got to play competition. Well, now everything's lined up for you. There is no running. There is no, we're trying to do this, or we're avoiding this. Now you get the best of both worlds. Now we strengthen the product that we have. Now you're talking about a strong, like it used to be in the 50s, a strong FAMU, Jackson State, Grambling, Southern, A&T, Tennessee State. Those are marquee names. That conference sound better than teams when I think about Southern Miss, Georgia State, Appalachian State, in the Sun Belt Conference, which is a damn good football conference. But now you're talking about emboldening and strengthening, making these household names and household programs. And now you're talking about getting our best and brightest to come to HBCUs now, getting more resources. And now when we play a Southern Miss, now it's equal footing. Now we can actually match up and beat those schools. And again, by doing so, now you put your conference in tow, because I think the moment that happens, I think that conference supersedes the MEAC. I think it could be on par with the Sun Belt Conference. And now you're talking about being not lesser than, but like I said, not equal footing to the SEC, and we know they're going to it anyway. But you don't have to be. But you'll be on better footing than the MEAC. You could be on par with the Sun Belt, and now you can put your hat in the ring, and you can actually say, okay, guess what? Now we play for a national championship, just like we do in all the other sports.
Mr. Campbell, you're probably more familiar with the MEAC and the history of it than Zoe. Has the issues been remedied that Hampton and NC State, North Carolina A&T left for? Has those issues been remedied, or was it a matter of them pursuing their own personal goals versus something actually being wrong with the MEAC?
Well, the business goals made the personal goals even more important, because the MEAC, frankly, the problem was revenue generation. They have not been able to get deals, streaming deals, TV deals, sponsorship deals for the conference that made it where teams were like, okay, we're making money, we want to stay. There's a reason why Ballard ain't going to drop down. Ballard makes money being in the SWAC. You see what I'm saying? There's a reason why. So when you look at the MEAC, and then you start looking at the travel. So you're going all the way up the East Coast, to Delaware State, all the way down to Daytona Beach. You know what I mean? And then the problem is, when you go, half those teams are not football teams. And your biggest amount of travel expense is football. So then you're starting to say, okay, basketball, yeah, because you're only traveling 12 to 15 guys. You can do that. Great basketball conference. But then when you come over there and you say, hey, you want to play football, and then, like I said, FAMU, and this is the thing about it, like I said, again, I've said the story a billion times. I was at FAMU, man, and teams would come and play, and it would be just like, yeah, okay, we're playing Howard, we're playing So, you know, A&T, South Carolina State was really a big game, but it wasn't the same energy because people weren't coming to the games from the other teams. You see what I'm saying? With the SWAC, you always are going to see people that are going to be, because frankly, the SWAC is more condensed other than the Texas schools. You know what I mean? The original SWAC per se. You can, like I say, that's why I tell people Jackson State, they talking about they travel, bro. You can get from Jackson to anywhere else in about 4 hours in the SWAC, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? And turn right back around and be back home. So
and Houston in 5.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you should be able to travel when you're in the center and your radius is 4 hours to anywhere you go. So that makes, but that also, what you know what that does? That makes where, hey, Jackson can go to Grambling, Grambling can go to Jackson, Alcorn can go to Jackson, Alcorn can go to Southern, Alcorn can go to Alabama State. All these different things make these games bigger games. So same thing with FAMU. Now here's FAMU. So 6 hours at Jackson, but hey, that's not a bad ride. So, you know, then Alabama State is close. Alabama A&M is close. And then now, like I said, you get this thing, hey, Jackson State and FAMU, now that game is elevated. You talk about the Blue Bloods with, you know, Southern and Grambling. So, you know, playing those games. Who would rather we play? Southern, or would we rather play Delaware State? That's easy.
Well, let me ask you this. So you bring up the notion of a super conference. And so what does that leave schools? And I'll put Valley and TSU in the same, and Pine Bluff all in the same sentence for virtue of their recent ability to compete in the conference, right? What does the super conference leave those guys moving forward?
I mean, well, that's, to me right now, I would say Valley can't go.
In football, that's what we're talking about in football.
But I wouldn't look at it and answer it to say where they are from a competitive standpoint in football to determine if they could go or not. Because again, some years you're going to win, some you're not. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, whether you're winning right now or isn't the continuum to say if you can actually move up. But we'll use historical data in this sense. And I would say, for example, in that whole idea of it, right, I would say, yeah, Valley and probably Pine Bluff won't go. But I want the friends to say Alcorn probably won't go. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, when if we're talking about a legit 12-team conference, you know what I'm saying? You know, they would look at it that way. But I came up with an example where we actually could have Alcorn and we could have Pine Bluff actually make that jump. Everybody just actually made that move except Valley. But if it was up to me, I would say everybody could probably go up except Valley and Pine Bluff, just in that example. But that's a different thing when you talk about parameters and what that needs to look like. But it has nothing to do with, you know, what they can do in football from a winning standpoint.
Because my question is, the super conference, what does a Valley Morgan State game do for the conference? What does a Valley Delaware State game do for the conference? Well, you can't
look at it like that, because again, you're looking at where they are from a success standpoint. But I'll raise you this. Delaware State just got Steven Jackson. I mean, just got Deshaun Jackson as head coach. Well, if he actually turned their program around, they're winning, because again, they have an AD. They're investing in the infrastructure. It talks about some facility upgrades. You know, I can't look at it because it may not appear to be a 60 game, because guess what? I can raise you. Okay, hey, what does Vanderbilt and Mississippi State and the SEC do? It's not an attractive game, so we can't use that as an example.
No. What I'm simply saying is, at that point, those schools, okay, we know it doesn't bring much value to the conference, but is it a drag on those schools' their bottom line in the years that they have to see each other, one traveling to the other? You understand what I'm saying? Just economically.
I do get that, but I don't see it the same way, because see, we're looking at how it is right now. Even in this idea, we're forecasting, because again, even if we say Valley and Morgan State, right? I'll raise you. What if this is an Earl Banks coach Morgan State team against Archie Cooley? We don't have that same figure, do we? When Archie Cooley was coaching Valley was the talk of the country. So again, it is Valley. And guess what? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Earl Banks, but he was the all-time winning coach in Morgan State history. When he coached Willie Lanier, and they were a powerhouse.
John Taylor went to Delaware State.
John Taylor went to Delaware State, but Willie Lanier played at Morgan State under Earl Banks. So what I'm saying is they were a powerhouse then. So my point is, it changes. That's what I'm saying. We can't look at it because it's not a sexy game and they don't really draw, because I get that, right? That's why I use the example. I can use Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. I mean, who cares about that game? You're going to have that in every conference. It's going to exist. You're going to have some team because not everybody's going to win. Even in a thriving conference, not everybody's going to win. But they will have some years where they start to do something. Who cares about Kentucky playing Vanderbilt? Right? What does that look like? You see what I'm saying? Or we talk about Rutgers versus Illinois in the Big Ten. Nobody cares about that game. Or Rutgers playing Northwestern. Nobody cares about that game. So you see what I'm saying? It's you know, it is what it is in that regard.
Yeah,
This is interesting.
I think the part. Well, go ahead, Rocky.
No, I was just going to bring up this comment that made by Blue in that if you're going to call out Alcorn Valley, UAPB, and Texas Southern, Grambling doesn't have the resources to go FBS either. Is what he says, and so.
Well, let me tell you this on that list: the school that actually has a resource and has the size is Texas Southern. Texas Southern ain't no little school, and they got a whole bunch of money. That's the funny thing about that. So Texas Southern, they just don't have the football pedigree. But as far as the size of the school, and again, I don't think people realize Texas Southern is a huge school, huge population. So, that's the thing. Yeah, when we start, we had an honest conversation, and so I think me and you talked about this when all the big powers that be first talked about going D1. You know what I mean? It wasn't a whole bunch of them.
I can tell you exactly what it was. It was my senior in high school. It was in 1996. We talked about this before.
Yep.
And the ADs actually met up. There was a threat from the NCAA because at the time they were going to reduce scholarships. And the only threat that these coaches and ADs had were that if you were going to reduce our scholarships to be in FCS, then we will move up. They were 1AA at the time. Then we will move up to become 1A. And so the NCAA actually voted against it, and that's how they were able to maintain and stay as a 1AA. And this was in 1996. The four schools who were meeting were Jackson State, FAMU, Southern, and Grambling. Also, out of those four schools who were meeting, Tennessee State, North Carolina A&T, South Carolina State, and I believe Tennessee State, South Carolina State, A&T, I want to say Hampton, I believe what it was. We're keeping a close eye on what was happening because if those four schools were going to move up, those next four schools said that they were going to move up with them. This was in 1996. It's on wax. I have the proof to send it to you if you need it.
Yeah, the famous picture of the ADs all sitting together in the Clarion Ledger. So yeah, so when you sit back and you look at this, man, I just think that unfortunately I like Zoe's point. I think it's valid when you look at it. I think the problem always is the financing of the situation. That's the thing, that how do we finance it correctly? Because the names sell itself, but the underlying finances, which we all, again, we know what it is. Ain't no need to have a long conversation. That's why I don't think it will be able to be done because of the finance that would need to get it done.
Well, one thing, and I'll just add this, one thing about the Power 5 level is if once they create a conference, there's no understanding or looking out for each other in the process. You know what I mean? Texas ain't looking out for Oklahoma. You see Oklahoma ain't even looking out for Oklahoma State, and Texas ain't even looking out for Texas A&M in those moves. It's every man for themselves. And I don't think HBCUs in their conference alignment function in that same way, where it's every man for themselves. They tend to, this is just a sentiment I get from being in the space the last 5 years. There's a kinship and a camaraderie there that they want to look out what's in the best interest of everybody or most schools in the conference in any decision that's being made in most cases.
But you know what, Rocky, was crazy about that though, but you got to look at it. The teams that you named were leaving to go somewhere. They weren't in the power position. Oklahoma and Texas had to leave because they were losing money. That's why they came. The SEC didn't come to them. They came to the SEC. That's why Texas A&M got out of there 15 years, 20 years before they did, because they understood. You know what I mean? So when you see that, you look at, I just had a conversation with some people from Nebraska and talking about how Nebraska being in the Big Ten, that killed the Big Game. When you're talking about Oklahoma, that used to be the game. And ever since Nebraska's been in the Big Ten, Nebraska's never been Nebraska, and it never probably will be because it just doesn't fit. So, to your point, well, yeah, Oklahoma State, but again, as you know football, Oklahoma State is not Oklahoma's rival, it's Texas in everything. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like they didn't give two shits about what kind of situation that left Oklahoma State in when they left for the SEC. And the same thing
let me tell you, let me give you the difference though about the SEC and how they do care. Because the SEC said, listen, in Alabama, Tennessee say that third Saturday in October, we playing no matter what y'all say. We playing. Auburn and Georgia said, I don't care what y'all do with the rest of them. We are playing this game. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, it's a big. Well, in that case, they made, when you have something already established, you get to kind of set the guidelines. I'm just talking about when you have schools trying to vie for their own survivability and their own competitive advantage. Those big schools don't look out for the other schools in the conferences. They don't look out for Baylor. They didn't move with the situation of what happens to TCU in mind when they moved, or what's going on with Kansas and Kansas State. They didn't move with those things in mind.
Here's the thing, though, Rocky. You got to get to it. That's true, but there's a different dichotomy when you say that, right? So no matter what Oklahoma does, whatever Oklahoma decides to do, it's not going to bring on the death knell to Oklahoma State. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's the difference. Like if Jackson State, or let's say the SWAC make a move, right? But then Jackson State, if Valley and Alcorn, let's say they do have the super conference, right? Let's say it happens. Alcorn and Valley don't go. Okay, now what do you think what happens to Alcorn and Valley? You see what I'm saying? The ramifications of what every school that we do within our conference, it matters because it doesn't resonate in those other conferences. You know what I'm saying? If Mississippi State were to lead the SEC, it's not going to be to the death knell of Mississippi State. But people may think that they're like, you look at Oregon State and Washington State right now. The Pac-12 is dissolved, though there's only two teams in that conference. You see what I'm saying? But it's not to the detriment of those schools because they're still going to be Power 5. So they're not going to crumble up and die. You can't say the same for HBCUs.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
And I think, Rocky, to your point, and I think that because we don't have the luxury of kicking each other to the curb. We don't. Because, like I said, when you talk about Valley and the struggles that they have, and again, this is in all sports. Sometimes you use Vanderbilt, right? Vanderbilt will still say, hey, we can hang our hat on baseball. You know what I mean? So you can look
pick
at
a sport. Pick a sport. They can pick a sport and decide to be competitive in it based on.
But see, Valley, unfortunately, they just can't. They just don't have that ability to just say, "Hey, we're just going to pick a sport and be really dominant." In it. Just never have, because like I said, they've been always underfunded, and like I said, the situation where they're located. And again, you got two other HBCUs again right there in the same state.
Hey man, this has been a great conversation, guys. We're gonna have a big show tomorrow. I want to remind everybody, come back tomorrow night here on Off Script channel, as long as the Rocky Miller channel, and we'll have HBCU Coaches Corner hosted by none other than your main man, Johnnie Cole. I'll be on along with my co-host, Stephen Campbell, man. I appreciate, I made notes of all the questions that you guys would like to ask Jay Walker. But before we get off, Zoe, do you have a question other than the hate question that you want to ask Jay Walker?
I would say, Jewel, is Jackson State repeating as the HBCU national champion?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. We'll write that down. Hey, can I also add, if they're gonna be unseeded, who's gonna unseed them?
Oh yeah, I look. You're gonna be itching to say Howard, but I'm interested to see who is going to say.
Hey man, Zoe. Hey, thank you, Zoe, for joining us, man. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you having me on, man. Y'all have a good one.
You too, brother. Hey, we got a big one tomorrow, Campbell, man. Rest up tomorrow. You got a question. You gonna handle that Jackson State, Jay Walker stuff. I'm staying out of that. you got that covered, and
Well,
you already
going.
going.
Man, we got some special things happening tomorrow. We're gonna be ready to go.
Man, hey, that's another thing. I wasn't even gonna say that. When I ain't giving nothing away.
No, I just say we got some special things happening.
Hey man,
tomorrow.
y'all don't want to miss tomorrow's show. Hey, I'll just say Jay Walker is our headliner, but we got some other things going on that you definitely don't want to miss this show. And remember, this show is about Jay Walker, and to commemorate him going into the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And I'll ask you as our historian, is this right on time? Did it take too long? Should this already have been done based on Jay Walker's history and pedigree?
Well, I think, but you got to understand something. This Hall of Fame just started. It's a relatively new Hall of Fame. So
okay.
As they said, there were some people in front of the list. But is he a Hall of Famer? Absolutely. But I think they wanted to get some of those big names out the way, out of respect. I think Jay would understand that too. So it's a relatively new Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? They're picking some great guys that are well known. So I think Jay's time is, where he's supposed to be at, as they say, in line. Absolutely.
Did you realize Jay was a transfer into Howard?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Jay and I, Jay's probably a year younger than me. You know what I mean? He played against them.
He is.
So when he came, and he lit it up. You know what I'm saying? So no, I was very familiar because you gotta understand something too. Again, now it's different. Well, see, when you came down, you could immediately play. So that was the thing of people like, oh man, Howard got this quarterback, from the West Coast.
So I'm interested to ask him, because his contemporary quarterbacks are several guys, black quarterbacks out of the, I guess, California. Rodney Peete came out during that same kind of time frame, I think, as Jay.
A little bit older. Rodney's just a little bit older, about 3 years older.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that was the first. Those were the first group of guys that we saw leave college and go to the pros. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And in that regard, he's a pioneer. When you talk about a guy that was and then you talk about Jay. Jay was after Aaron McNair. No, he was just before. He was just before Aaron McNair. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so he was. Had there been a quarterback before Jay to get drafted? Because you had Doug. I know you had Doug, and that was in 78, 79, if I'm not mistaken. Had there been anybody in that stretch to get drafted between Jay and Doug Williams at quarterback?
Between Jay and Doug. Now, hold on. Let me think about that now. That's between Jay and Doug. So that would have been 78, 80. Did Joe 747 Adams get drafted? Maybe the 12th round? Tennessee State? I'm trying to think. Willie Totten got drafted, of course.
Okay.
Okay. Joe 747 Adams. I'm trying to go back and through. Man, that's the two that I can think of. Right.
But I'm sure you're gonna do your research tomorrow. Do your research and fight, because that's an interesting question. Because after Doug, we of course we have Willie Totten, and after Willie Totten, is Jay the next one? I don't know. But now 747,
it's close to it, man. Because again, like I've always told people, one thing, and again, this is another thing, we didn't have a bunch of great quarterbacks. You know what I mean? The league was defensive, offensive players and things like that. Now, again, that's why some of the quarterbacks used to say the Doug Williams and the Shaq Harrises and Steve Aaron McNairs and the Willie Totten. That's why they stand out so much, because when they came around, they were transcendent.
Now let me ask you this. Jay played. This is my last question. I got to get this one in. Jay played 2 years in the SWAC. In the MEAC, won championships. Shedeur played 2 years in the SWAC, won championships. At some point, does Shedeur go in the Black College Hall of Fame?
I'm going to be honest with you. For what Shedeur did, being a back-to-back, because like I said, he was a freshman player of the year too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
SWAC offensive player of the year those 2 years also, right?
I don't think he was offensive player of the year both years, but I know the last year he was. He may have been, but...
Okay, so
I know he won a national award.
The Kill Glass might have been Offensive Player of the Year that year, his freshman year. That would probably make sense.
Yeah.
So no, I would not have a problem for what should do and the numbers that he put up. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think, like I said, I think he's deserving of it. I mean, we've had quarterbacks that played 2 years that have been Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Hell, Cam Newton played 1 year at Auburn.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying the Black College Hall of Fame. Yeah. I didn't realize Jay was just a two-year player and came from Long Beach State and was able to play at Howard. And then it was interesting to see that he was a California guy, came to the East Coast. It seemed like he never went back.
No. And I think he's been in government in Maryland and things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Amazing, man. So I'm super proud of that, brother. But yeah, we're gonna be on his ass tomorrow.
Hey, all right. Hey, Mr. Campbell, we're gonna get out of here, man. Much love, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow.